Britain just witnessed something that hasn't happened in nearly half a century. King Charles blocked a bill using royal veto power. Parliament exploded, and what the Prime Minister allegedly said in response could end his career. Here's what you need to know. On a tense afternoon in Westminster, Keir Starmer's electoral reform bill was heading for final approval. The legislation would fundamentally change how Britain votes forever. But at 4:12 p.m, King Charles invoked royal assent refusal, a constitutional power unused since 1978. He didn't delay the bill, he killed it completely. If you want the full story behind Britain's biggest constitutional standoff in decades, hit subscribe. Because what happened next reveals a government in free fall and a nation divided like never before. Within minutes, Parliament turned chaotic. Labour MPs shouted across the chamber at Conservatives. The Deputy Speaker suspended proceedings 3 times because the noise made debate impossible. Witnesses inside described it as something from a different century. Raw, primal fury. Conservative MP Jacob Rees-Mogg stood at the dispatch box and declared, "The Crown has reminded this government that Britain is a constitutional monarchy, not a Labour dictatorship. His Majesty has done what millions of Britons have been begging for." The Conservative benches erupted in applause so thunderous it rattled the ancient walls. Labour MPs looked shell-shocked, disoriented, betrayed. But the real drama was happening behind closed doors. According to multiple sources inside Number 10, Starmer received news of the King's decision during a cabinet meeting in the cabinet room. His reaction was described as volcanic. One witness claims he swept papers off the table and made a shocking statement about the monarch. The exact words, leaked to 3 newspapers within hours, painted a disturbing picture. Starmer allegedly called King Charles irrelevant and out of touch, saying the monarchy no longer mattered in modern Britain. That quote changed everything. Within 2 hours, it had been leaked to 3 separate newspapers, clearly by someone in that room who wanted the British public to know exactly what kind of man now occupies Number 10. By evening, the dominoes started falling. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper was the first to resign, citing a breakdown in constitutional cooperation. Within hours, Defence Secretary John Healey and Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson followed suit. The government was collapsing from within, piece by piece, hour by hour. The pound dropped 3.2% against the dollar, the sharpest single-day decline since Brexit. Currency traders in London, New York and Tokyo started dumping British assets, fearing prolonged political instability. Financial analysts estimated £1.8 billion was wiped from the FTSE 100 in a single trading session. Emergency polls showed catastrophic results. Labour's approval ratings plummeted from 39% to 21% in just 8 hours. In key constituencies across the Midlands and the North, places Labour desperately needs to hold, support collapsed by 19 percentage points. But then King Charles did something unprecedented. At 7:30 p.m, he addressed the nation directly from Windsor Castle, breaking decades of royal protocol. Standing beneath portraits of Queen Elizabeth and King George VI, he spoke with unmistakable gravity. "I have exercised a constitutional authority I hope never to use," the King declared, his voice steady but weighted with resolve. But when legislation threatens the foundations upon which our democracy rests, when it seeks to fundamentally alter the compact between Crown, Parliament and people without proper mandate, then silence becomes complicity. I will not be complicit in dismantling British constitutional tradition. Palace insiders revealed that Charles spent 3 days consulting constitutional scholars, former prime ministers and senior judges before making his decision. Former Prime Minister Sir John Major reportedly spent 90 minutes on the phone with Charles, walking him through historical precedents and potential consequences. The King was agonised but absolutely certain that Starmer's bill represented an existential threat to the balance of power that has kept Britain stable for centuries. While this constitutional battle raged in Westminster's gilded halls, a different story was unfolding across Britain. A story the mainstream media barely covers, but every working-class family knows intimately. David Harrison, a 71-year-old former paratrooper who lost his leg serving in Northern Ireland, waited 9 months for a wheelchair ramp at his council flat. 9 months for basic dignity. 9 months while bureaucrats processed paperwork and councils debated budgets. I fought for this country, he told reporters, tears streaming down his weathered face. I gave my leg in Belfast, and now I can't even get into my own home without crawling up the steps like an animal. Where's my dignity? Where's the promise they made when they sent us to fight? Margaret Ellis, a 73-year-old widow whose husband died serving in the Royal Navy, receives £156.20 per week in state pension. That's £22.31 per day. She heats only one room during winter because she cannot afford energy bills. She eats one proper meal a day, rationing food like it's wartime again. When she wrote to her Labour MP asking for help, she received a form letter about competing budget priorities. The contrast cuts deep. While veterans like David and widows like Margaret struggle for basic necessities, asylum seekers in government-contracted hotels receive accommodation, food and services valued at approximately £40 per day. Nearly double what Margaret gets after her husband gave his life for Britain. This isn't about immigration policy or compassion. It's about priorities. It's about a government that seems to have forgotten who built this country, who defended it, who paid taxes for 50 years expecting the social contract to be honoured. In pubs across working-class Britain, the conversations have turned bitter. People who voted Labour for generations now speak of betrayal, of forgotten promises, of a party that abandoned the very people it was created to serve. Union members, factory workers, nurses, teachers, the backbone of Labour's traditional support, feel invisible. By midnight, the political landscape had fundamentally shifted. Protests erupted in Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham and Newcastle. Crowds gathered outside Labour constituency offices demanding Starmer's resignation. Some carried Union Jacks. Others held signs reading, "The Crown protects Britain and Starmer, modern traitor." In Leeds, over 3,000 people marched through the city centre chanting "God Save the King." In Glasgow, traditionally a Labour stronghold, protesters burned an effigy labelled "Constitutional Traitor Starmer" outside the Scottish Parliament. Veteran Labour MP Stephen Kinnock admitted to the Bee, "I've been in politics for 20 years and I've never seen my own constituents turn on the party like this. They feel betrayed." Online, "Defend the King" became the #1 trending topic globally with over 4.7 million tweets in 12 hours. Social media exploded with videos of protests, passionate defences of constitutional monarchy and scolding criticism of Starmer's leadership. A YouGov poll released this morning showed a political earthquake. Conservatives at 31%, Labour collapsing to 23% and Reform UK surging to an unprecedented 26%. Read that again. For the first time in modern British history, Nigel Farage's party isn't just a protest vote or a spoiler candidate. It's a genuine contender for government. The international response amplified the crisis beyond Britain's shores. World leaders watched with a mixture of fascination and awe. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney issued a carefully worded statement praising the vital role constitutional monarchy plays in preserving democratic stability and continuity. Everyone understood the subtext. He was supporting Charles and rebuking Starmer. Australian opposition leader Peter Dutton was far less diplomatic, calling Starmer's actions a disgraceful attack on the Crown and an embarrassment to Commonwealth nations everywhere. New Zealand's Parliament held an emergency debate where MPs from across the political spectrum condemned what they called Labour's reckless constitutional vandalism. Even in the United States, where monarchy holds no constitutional role, political commentators expressed shock. CNN dedicated prime-time coverage to the crisis. Fox News ran a banner headline reading, "British PM declares war on King, nation in chaos." The Wall Street Journal published a scathing editorial titled "The Collapse of British Political Wisdom." Britain, once viewed as the gold standard of political stability and constitutional continuity, became an international story of dysfunction and division. Foreign investors quietly pulled back from UK commitments. Credit rating agencies placed Britain on watch for potential downgrade. The damage to national credibility may take years to repair. Then the story took its darkest turn yet. Leaked documents obtained by The Telegraph revealed something extraordinary that transforms this entire crisis from political miscalculation to calculated betrayal. Starmer's inner circle had wargamed this exact scenario 6 weeks ago. They knew King Charles might block the bill. They planned for it. And according to these documents, their strategy was deliberate and Machiavellian. Use royal intervention as justification for stripping the monarchy of remaining constitutional powers entirely. If authentic, these documents suggest the Prime Minister
in the biggest democratic exercise in the history
deliberately provoked a confrontation with the King as political cover for dismantling 1,000 years of constitutional tradition. Think carefully about what that means. The elected leader of the United Kingdom allegedly engineered a collision with the Crown to justify abolishing royal authority. The betrayal isn't just against Charles, it's against every Briton who believes in the delicate balance that's kept this nation free and stable through wars, depressions and revolutions. Constitutional lawyers are now debating whether premeditated attacks on the monarchy could carry legal consequences. The optics of such Machiavellian scheming would be devastating and potentially unprecedented in modern British politics. While Labour imploded, Nigel Farage seized the moment with the precision of a master strategist who spent his entire career waiting for exactly this opportunity. On GB News last night, Farage appeared calm, reasonable and supremely confident. King Charles has done what millions of us have been saying for years, he declared, to thunderous applause from the studio audience. He stood up for Britain. While Labour attacks our traditions, Reform UK will defend them. While Labour serves globalist elites, we serve the British people. His messaging was pitch perfect, patriotism wrapped in populist fury. Reform UK's membership applications crashed their website 3 times in 24 hours due to overwhelming demand. Small donors flooded party headquarters with contributions. Polling shows Farage within striking distance of number 10. For the first time, Farage isn't just disrupting British politics, he's positioned to lead it. That reality is sending shockwaves through every establishment institution in Britain. The next 72 hours will determine
in the biggest
Britain's
democratic
future
exercise
for decades to
in the
come.
history
Emergency votes of no confidence are being drafted. Constitutional lawyers are preparing cases that could reach the Supreme Court. Senior military figures have privately expressed concerns about stability if this crisis escalates further. The question is no longer whether Starmer's premiership is finished. That seems inevitable. The real question is what Britain becomes after he's gone. Does the monarchy emerge strengthened as guardian of constitutional order? Or does this crisis accelerate calls for abolishing the crown and transforming Britain into a republic? Does Reform UK ride this wave of populist fury straight into government? Or do Conservatives capitalise on Labour's collapse and reclaim power? Britain is watching its political system tear itself apart in real time. This constitutional crisis will be studied for generations as the moment modern Britain either remembered its foundations or abandoned them forever. So here's what matters now. Does Starmer resign by Monday, or do Labour MPs force him out in a brutal leadership challenge? Did King Charles just save British democracy or ignite a crisis that destroys the monarchy itself? And could Nigel Farage actually become the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom? What do you think happens next? Drop your perspective in the comments because this conversation matters. Your voice matters. If this story revealed something the mainstream media isn't fully covering, share it with someone who needs to understand what's really happening to our country. Subscribe and turn on notifications because tomorrow we're analysing those leaked documents that suggest this confrontation was planned from the beginning. The implications are staggering and you won't want to miss it. This is the biggest political story in Britain right now and it's far from over.